statement of history of education. Today we will talk with the developer of the method known as Suggestopedia. And as when education is about life and death is not an impediment. So let's invite to the resurrected version of Giorgio Lozano.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be invited. So let's start.
Okay, first of all, do you consider learning languages is a slow process?
Well, this can happen at a much faster rate than it usually does. The reasons of our inefficiency is that we establish psychological barriers to learning. We fear not to being able to perform, being limited in our ability to learn, failure. One result is that we do not use all our mental powers that we have.
Well, how much of our mental capacity do you think the human being uses?
Actually, my colleagues and I consider that only 5 to 10% of our brain capacity is used.
And how do you think that use can be improved?
To make the best use of our reserve capacity, limitations that we believe should be removed. They don't have to exist.
So, we know that you have developed a pedagogical method based on this. Tell us about it.
The method is Suggestopedia. I was concerned about the systematic study of non-rational and non-conscious influences. Suggestopedia tries to take advantage of these influences and redirect them to optimize learning and develop it to help students eliminate it and overcome barriers to learning.
What is one of the characteristics when applied?
One of the ways to apply it is to stimulate the mental reserves of the students through the integration of the fine arts.
Who is your method for?
All students can be taught a certain subject with the same skill level. It works just as well whether or not students pass external style.
Well, Sir Lozano, it has been a pleasure. Well, for the next statement, we are going to deep in this topic.
Experience. How to use in the classroom. I will briefly describe an example of a class using the following Suggestopedia method. To apply this method, a class should bring more beautiful decorations. Posters that are relevant to the teaching materials are stuck on the classroom wall. In this example, we have a student of primary school who have bright and colorful classroom. In the other hand, it has nothing to do with the other class that have the same colors and the same boring board. The seats in this example are placed in a circle in the classroom. Even a sofa can be used as a student seat so that the students feel more comfortable while learning. It has nothing to do with the other example that use the traditional rows and columns. Also, lighting in the classroom should be not to be too bright. It suggests to be slightly dim so that the students can feel relaxed with the classroom atmosphere. At the beginning of the lesson, the teacher greets the students by using the first language. For example, say, Buenos días, ¿cómo estás? It aims to make the students easily understand what the teacher is saying, as well as to reduce the pressure on the student to start the lesson by convincing them that the learning process will take place naturally. After that, the teacher plays the music, then directs the student to relax with their breathing and listen to the teacher's directions. When giving directions, the teacher must adjust the information of his voice in tune with the music. Finally, students are directed to imagine when the music is playing. Then they slowly open their eyes and observe while imagine the poster on the board according to the material being taught. Teachers can also use role-playing techniques or other techniques in this stage. In this example, as a conclusion, we can say, teachers should have a selective skill to choose effective learning methods that will be applied in the classroom, that match the characteristics of the students, teaching materials, and also the learning objectives to be achieved. The use of this method focuses in a method of suggestions where the students are less afraid to fail and are motivated to succeed and be optimistic in their learning.
Well, now that we have heard the example of how this method is applied, we are going to extract some general principles based on the observations in the experience. As we can see in the first picture, the classroom is bright and colorful. Among the posters hanging around the room are several containing grammatical information. Here we extract the first principle, which is a student can learn from what is present in the environment. In order to win the trust and respect from the students, the teacher has to speak confidently and establish his authority role. The teacher also has to give impression that learning the target languages will be easy and enjoyable with the purpose of recognize the psychological barriers. This led the students to be less inhibited in class. And well, then we have the psychological barriers that I already mentioned. Well, another observation that we have is that the teacher interact with the students by introducing themselves and with some dialogues using the grammar and vocabulary. She used the reading and intonation of music while she's reading to take advantage of the learning potential. Before read, the teacher tells the student what are the topics about. The dialogue that the students learn contains language they can use immediately. This means that when the teacher explains the students all of this, and when they interact with this vocabulary, they are going to be able to interact more easily. Before read, the teacher makes the students paint based on the reading. They also read out loud and receive hats to act the reading. They sing and she teaches them a children's song. Arts are useful for evoking positive emotions. And here we have another general principle. And finally, the teacher leads activities involving the dialogue. They play a questions and answers game. They use repetition and translation even though the teacher should try to avoid both. In an atmosphere of play, the conscious attention of the learner does not focus on linguistic forms, but rather on using the language. Learning can be fun. The base part of this general principle are the questions, answer, repetition, and translation.
Now we are going to speak about the principles of the Suggestopedia. Suggestopedia, the teacher tries to speak the new language all the time. Role of the teacher. The teacher is the authority in the classroom and the students must trust and respect him. Role of the student. Once the students trust the teacher, they can feel more secure. Teaching learning process. In the classroom, there are posters displaying grammatical information about the target language. Student-teacher interaction. The teacher initiates interaction with the whole group. Student-student interaction. Students can respond more appropriately and even initiate interaction themselves. Students' feelings. One of the fundamental principles of the method is that the students are relaxed and confident to learn. Language view. We can see the factors which influence the language message. For example, the way one dresses or the non-verbal behavior one uses affects how one's language message is interpreted. Culture viewed. The culture which students learn concerns the everyday life people who speak the language. Areas of language. Here vocabulary is emphasized. Language skills. Speaking, reading, and writing are emphasized. Role of the student's native language. Native language translation is used to make the meaning of the dialogue clear, if is necessary. Evaluation. Evaluation usually is conducted on the student's normal in-class performance. Don't use formal tests. Errors are corrected gently.
I'm going to talk about techniques. Number 1. Classroom setup. Teachers should try to provide as positive environment as possible. Number 2. Peripheral learning. Teachers should put pictures or posters on the wall with grammatical information to reinforce student knowledge. Number 3. Positive suggestions. It could be direct and indirect. Direct appeals to the student's consciousness. An example of this could be when a teacher says to the students, "You're going to be successful." Indirect appeals to the student's subconscious. An example of this could be when the topic of a class is to want to be to able to. Number 4. Choose a new identity. The student has to create a fictional story about his or her life and then read it aloud. Number 5. Roleplay. The student has to act like someone else. They can even create their own dialogues. Number 6. Primary activation. The students read a dialogue aloud. It can be individual or group, and then they have to read it in a particular way. Could be sad, happy, angry. Finally, creative adaptation. The students engage in various activities designed to help them learn the new material and use it spontaneously. For example, dancing, singing, dramatization, or maybe games. Number 1. Through Suggestopedia, we learn to trust the power of the mind. Number 2. Decorate the class with posters. By using posters, the students will always learn, even when they just look around the classroom. We can put some posters which contain of motivation words or posters which contains our lessons. Number 3. We can use also benefit from the use of music to get the students sit back and relax. For example,
Esto podemos verlo
putting
tanto en la casa de los nobles
while doing an activity. Baroque music, which is used
como
in
la propia corte
Suggestopedia
real.
with its 60 beats per minute, and its specific rhythm will create the kind of relaxed states of mind for maximum retention of material. Number 4. Suggestopedia class arrange chairs in the class into semicircle shape. It is aimed to make students more focused on the lesson. Number 1. Using music during the learning process also has disadvantage for some people who cannot study in the noisy class. They say that using music the learning process is not effective at all because it will irritate and disturb them. Number 2. To decorate every single classroom in the school, we'll need much money. For example, we have to change chairs in the classroom into armchairs. We also have to decrease the students in the classroom so that we need new classroom for them. So it means that we also have to build new classrooms. Number 3. Suggestopedia method will be difficult to be practiced in the development country with many students. The teacher will be difficult to control them one by one. You need at least 10 or 15 students per class.